These are the 12 laws of the universe and what each of them mean. How many do you know? 1. The law of divine oneness. The law of divine oneness is the foundational law, according to which absolutely everything in our universe is interconnected. In other words, every choice, word, desire, and belief you have will also have an impact on the world and on the people in your life. Sometimes this impact will be immediate and obvious. At other times, it may take a while to manifest, or you may never even discover that it has occurred. Try to think of yourself as part of everything around you to live in accordance with this law. We are all one, and awareness of this makes us more powerful as well as more empathetic. 2. Law of vibration. According to the law of vibration, every particle in the universe is in constant movement and constantly carries energy. This applies to enormous parts of the universe, like the planets and stars. However, it also applies to the chair underneath you or the table where your computer sits. In addition, everything has its own specific energy frequency. High-energy particles are naturally attuned to other high-energy particles, and the same is true for those that have low energy. 3. Law of correspondence. The law of correspondence is directly related to the foundational law of divine oneness. The key idea here is that patterns repeat throughout the universe, and that prominent patterns can also be found repeating on a very small scale. For example, think of the popular example of the spiral pattern that reappears in a huge number of places in the galaxy. Look for patterns in your own life and in your thinking, and notice how they repeat elsewhere in the world. As you do so, consider the kinds of pattern changes you might be able to make, and how those will create change on a large scale. 4. Law of attraction. As you likely already know, the law of attraction tells us that like attracts like. So, in order to have the things you desire in life, you have to work out how to vibrate on the same frequency as these things. The more general lesson here is that being positive, proactive, and loving attracts more of the same into your life. Meanwhile, pessimism, fear, and lethargy will lead you to generate more negative experiences in all aspects of life. By working to live more positively even just today, you're already using the law of attraction to create a better existence for yourself. 5. Law of inspired action. Law of attraction practitioners regularly say that they wish they had known about the law of inspired action at an earlier stage. These two laws are tightly bound together, and the inspired action law tells us that we must actively pursue our goals. Many people think that visualizing a goal and developing a positive attitude towards it will be sufficient to exploit the law of attraction. However, you also have to take inspired steps towards that thing that you want. Whether it's a big or small step, it instantly helps you to attract that relationship, job, or enhanced abundance you seek. 6. Law of perpetual transmutation of energy. The law of perpetual transmutation of energy states that everything around us is in constant flux. You can't see all of these changes because many of them exist at the cellular or atomic level, but they carry on regardless. The reason that it's so important to be aware of this law is that it helps you see how you can trigger positive change. Specifically, keep in mind that high vibrations can trigger improvements in low vibrations. For example, if you're vibrating at a low frequency, exposing yourself to the high frequency of a happy, encouraging friend will naturally trigger energy transmutation in you. 7. The law of cause and effect. One of the most straightforward laws of the universe, the law of cause and effect, tells us that all actions have a corresponding reaction. You will already know this, of course, when it comes to the physical aspects of the world. However, perhaps you haven't considered how this law might be applied to the spiritual aspects of our universe. Your spiritual life can impact the world around you, causing positive or negative reactions. Similarly, your physical environment can impact on your spirituality, whether for good or for ill. Ask yourself what types of relationships you see between the spiritual and the physical, and how you might want to change them. 8. The law of compensation. According to the law of compensation, you will receive what you put out. This is similar to the law of attraction, but with a focus on the idea that compensation can come in many forms. For example, if you win a large amount of money, then you might think you're getting a reward. However, depending on how you have lived, your vast amount of wealth could lead to a worse life rather than a better one. Essentially, you reap what you sow. This law reminds you to be careful about how you treat others and, indeed, the planet. 9. Law of Relativity. The law of relativity is all about the neutrality of things when seen in isolation. So no particular person, experience, emotion, or action is evaluated as good or bad until you look at it in comparison with something else. For example, you may think you are poor, but perhaps that's because you have 3 wealthy uncles. By keeping this law in mind, you remain conscious of the fact that there are always multiple perspectives on anything that happens to you. Trying to slip into these alternate perspectives can make you more grateful and can also show you where you can make improvements in life. 10. Law of Polarity. When thinking about the law of polarity, the most important thing to remember is that absolutely everything has an opposite, and that it's the very existence of these opposites that allow us to understand our life. Consequently, when you go through something difficult, it will be this thing that helps you truly appreciate the good developments to come. By regularly reminding yourself of this, you can improve your resilience in troubled times. For example, though a bad breakup is painful, it teaches you what doesn't work for you in a relationship, helping you to eventually find what does. 11. Law of Rhythm. Sometimes called the law of perpetual motion, the law of rhythm is focused on movement. In particular, it refers to the fact that all things come in cycles. You can see this in nature, for example, in the seasons, and in the body's aging process. However, it equally applies to a person's life stages, and reflecting on this helps you to gain perspective. Today's season may be good, but nothing is permanent, so enjoy what you have while it lasts. Alternatively, perhaps you're in a negative part of the cycle right now, but it may be the very thing that prepares you for a prosperous change in cycles next month. 12. Law of Gender. Finally, the law of gender has very little to do with biological sex. Rather, it refers to the fact that there are 2 major types of energy. You can think of them as masculine and feminine, as yin and yang, or as anima and animus. We all contain a certain amount of both energy and must find a way to achieve a balance between both types if we are to live authentically and happily. Think about the role each type of energy appears to play in your life, and whether there is an excess or a deficit of either. In order to become the superior version of yourself, you must learn to develop discipline, which is exactly why we have put together our very own free-to-download, Driven by Discipline guide. If you are fed up of your bad habits ruining your life, and you struggle to develop discipline that sticks around, then this guide is for you. The best part is that it is completely free to enroll. You can download the guide via the link in our bio.